Hey, Todd Burrier from toddburrier.com, and today I'm going to give you 5 planning tips that are huge for you succeeding in building your business. So you probably have heard the old adage, right? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right? You probably heard that. I'm going to give you another one that I don't think I've ever seen it before. I know I said it, but it's probably been said before, and that is, if you don't have a plan, someone else has a plan for you. Now think about it in that way, because this is the result of not planning. You see, when we don't plan, then it's like we're operating without a compass, right? We don't really know what we're doing, and we tend to be living in reaction. And I know this deeply because I grew up as a very undisciplined human being, and learning this skill was a huge piece of my becoming successful because I had to have a plan so that I could execute that plan. And when I developed this fundamental, it made a huge difference for me. I'm going to give you this, some really good nuggets. But first, I want to give you a little bit of insight as to why this area is a struggle for most people. Maybe you're already a master planner, but I want you to think about this. The people you are sponsoring and working with are not, right? They are not. I mean, I've taught planning in corporate boardrooms, right? And many of the people in those rooms who are in high-level positions in their company were not good planners. They didn't know how to plan in general, right? Now, they plan in the workplace. Why? Because they have to. In many cases, they're given a plan in the workplace, and they have to execute that plan. But if you think about planning as a fundamental skill, it is not taught in the educational system, right? So, I have a lot of education, a 4-year degree in economics, and then an MBA. No one ever taught me planning. I had to learn that on my own. I had to go out and pursue it and read about it and study it and then figure it out for myself and map out a way that worked well for me, and actually created a methodology for me called life management that was very, very effective. And so when you learn how to plan and you execute a plan, man, your life gets a whole lot easier, especially if you're operating inside of your priorities. And your business has to be a priority, right? If you think about the nature of your life, you have your work, right? You have your career, which very few people who are going to be watching my blog, because I'm focused on helping the everyday person succeed, are going to be full-time in networking at first, right? They're going to be fitting it into an already busy life with a family and other commitments, whether it's a church or community commitments and other interests, and not to mention your work, right? So all these different interfaces that are demanding on you, right? So if you don't have a plan, it's easy to just say yes to stuff, right? You go to work every day because you have to. You come home, you got stuff going on, you're just immediately in it if you don't have a plan, right? So here are 5 basic things that are huge. 5 basic, 3 or 4 of these are more like skill sets, and 1 is just a mentality. So the first for effective planning is plan in your whole life. And by the way, in my book, The Process 2, I have an extensive area on planning and time utilization for you, because it is crucial to learn how to do it. I mean, it is how you can fit it in. Heck, when I first started in the business, a long time ago, 28 years ago, back when I was 28, I had 2 jobs, right? And my wife was about to give birth. I had a banking job in the day and I had a bartending job at night. And I had to plan in order to work at my business, right? That's how I got my way. I worked my way out. And so first you have to plan in your whole life. This is the number 1 mistake for people that actually do plan, is they plan their work. They plan their work as in their job, right? They do a great job of planning inside of their job, and then they execute that plan, right? Again, they have to, but they do. But they don't plan what's outside of the job. So that's like planning one little portion of your life. You spend like 20% of your life in your job. The rest of the time, you're not there, right? You got the rest of the life. And so if you're not planning outside of it, you're like this, you're everywhere, right? So you have to plan in your whole life. In other words, I break it down to 5 areas. You can break it down to as many as you want, but at least plan in your priorities, whatever they are, and your business has to be one of them. If your network marketing business is not one of your priorities, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen, right? Because you have to show up, just like you show up at your job. So you plan in your whole life, which alleviates a lot of different things, like wondering what to do next, or wondering what's important, or saying yes to things that you shouldn't say yes to, right? So you plan your whole life. Don't leave a stone unturned. And I go real deep in that. Actually, in my very first book, Live Full, Live Well, I got really deep into how to plan properly so that you are incredibly efficient. The second thing is plan your work time. Now, it's so awesome what you have access to today with social media and the internet and cell phones. I mean, you can plan pockets to work, right? You literally can plan a 15-minute pocket before you go to work in the morning to send out some contacts. You can plan a little bit of time at lunch. You can plan a little time afterwards. And then, of course, you should plan a block of time in the evenings when you really can be efficient in your work. But you have to plan that time. In other words, it's like if you had a part-time job, right? If you had a part-time job and you're required to go to work every night from 6:30 to 9:30, right? Because you needed the extra money. And so you're working at McDonald's, let's say. And so let's say you're working at McDonald's for 3 hours a night because you need extra money or something. I don't think anybody does that. You probably have to work longer, but I'm just pulled that out of the air. So you would show up, right? You would show up no matter what was going on in your life, right? Because you had this part-time job and there'd be consequences of not showing up. You have to have the same mentality. You got to schedule your work time. Just because you're working from home or working from your cell phone, wherever you are, you have to show up. And so you plan your whole life, and then you plan your work time and you show up. Showing up is a huge part of success, okay? And then next, you plan your activities. What are your activities going to be in that block of time? So number one thing to plan is number of contacts. That is the number one engine in your business, your number of contacts. Next, you would plan follow-ups. Next, you would make sure that you plan in your day your personal development to grow yourself, your best resource. And then you would plan some time to work on your skills. That's going to happen in your work. And then if you're also doing some marketing where you're growing your audience, so to speak, and this is a bigger picture, then you would plan when you did your content, so to speak, when you would do a video or when you would write a blog or when you would do whatever it is that you're doing. But you have to plan those activities and then you just sequentially execute. That's number 4. You execute the plan. No thinking involved. For years, and it's still today for me, I don't have to think once I start to work, right? Because it's all mapped out. I just follow the plan. I follow the plan, and then I know that I'm not leaving a stone unturned. I'm not letting anything fall through the cracks. I'm not saying yes to things I shouldn't say yes to, and I'm showing up, right? And then number 5, huge, you have to be patient and consistent. Patient and consistent. Just because you plan and you execute doesn't mean the business of your dreams is going to show up tomorrow. Right? So you got to be patient in that and consistent every day. Plan it and show up. So plan in your whole life, plan your work, plan your activities, execute them daily, be patient and consistent. And if you want more resources, obviously you can check out my book, The Process 2, or my book, Live Full, Live Well. Both of those are, Process 2 is specifically about planning and working your time best in networking. And Live Fully, Live Well is the whole life picture. So I hope that this was helpful. So if you haven't signed up for my blog yet, it'd be great if you did so that you could get my 3 to 5 blogs a week. Please share, comment. If you have a comment, if you have a question, go ahead and put that in. And hey, I thank you for being here and allowing me to serve you. Have a great rest of your day.